Hi everybody, it's Carolyn here to share another message. This time it's not a channeled message from the Light Keepers. I'm just going to talk about some things that I think we're all going to learn during this time in humankind. And y'all know what I'm talking about, but as you know, I'm not going to say the thing that it is. But anyway, we're in a time of great emotion, great shift, great change. But what I think is super important for all of us is taking away, what are you individually learning from this? And oh my gosh, talk about learning in spades. I'm going to focus on one particular topic today, but it ties to so many others. And I hope you can take away and kind of start looking at yourself and see where this falls into your own journey that you're currently on, and how we can continue to individually not only hold the light, be the light worker that we are, but again, look at ourselves also as this fallible human that we continue to learn and become a better version of ourselves. So I'm going to give you some of my experiences today. And before we get started, thank you for joining me. You guys are bright lights in my day as well. I love your comments. They're intellectual, they're insightful, they teach me, and I can't thank you enough for being here. And community is super important now, and I think we're starting to understand that even more and more. And I hope to do a video on that here in the next week or so on all the things that we're learning out of this. But today I'm going to focus on one piece of that. So anyway, those of you who are new, thank you for joining me. And if you'd like more information about me, check out my YouTube channel welcome video, as well as the video below in the description box that I offer to you for flow in your body and how to create health and wellness within it by creating that flow. And then join me for more free content that will be offered to you as well. So over the days, what I have realized is that as I venture out and about, as we know, we as light workers in particular, and I think everybody kind of does to one degree or another, but they're not aware of it. And that's kind of the awakening is, you're aware of the things that are happening to you and you understand it. And now you have to learn from it and manage it. We are feeling the collective energies, as I had talked the other day. So, venturing out is, for me, because since I work from home and I don't see a lot of people day to day, it's kind of like, a real adventure as to what am I walking into today. So what I realized, first of all, before I get to the key component of this, which is the idea of how we are reacting to everything that's going on in the atmosphere, is many of us right now are actually going through the phases of grief. So think about this. First of all, and I'm just going to use me as an example. First of all, there's the denial phase of grief. Oh yeah, I went through denial. I was like, this isn't a thing. This is not a thing. And I kind of take a defensive posture lots of times, I noticed. And this is such a revelatory thing. I think if you really take this opportunity to learn, you're going to be amazed at what you learn about yourself. So I realized, okay, denial phase, I went through that like a week or two ago. I was kind of been quick too. Denial of, this isn't a thing, this isn't a thing. And, I guess it remains to be seen how big a thing it is, right? And I was doing this, almost like this pushing away, turning a blind eye. And I'm not that tied in anyway with respect to all that's going on, the detail, because I don't watch a lot of news. But it became a point where you couldn't not do that. Well, then I quickly went into the anger stage and I thought, what's going on? I'm going through something. And then I realized it was grief, because the anger stage was, I was just this last week super upset about all the shutting downs. Okay, I live in Iowa and I could tell you all about that, but you've got the same thing going on probably in your community to one degree or another. But we're a university community, and we're one of the only counties in Iowa that has experienced all of this. Anyway, so I went through this anger phase. I'm like, what is happening to me? So some of this was collective, but some of it was mine, and I had to recognize that, okay? I had to say, wait a minute, I can't blame this all on the collective, even though a whole lot of it is. I got stuff going on too, and I'm going through the grieving process. And my grieving, and this is going to be part of another video, but I just want to touch on this. My grieving was for all the beautiful things that bring people together that are not happening now, that have been canceled. The beautiful large festivals, the concerts, the gatherings, the things that bring beauty to life, at least in my case, what I feel brings beauty, arts, all of this, theater. But all of this grieving, but all that brings us together as humankind and is honestly a lot of the beauty that we've created as a collective to be together. Well, we don't have much of that right now, okay? We just don't. And it remains to be seen for how long. It has made me realize that's where deep sadness is coming from for me, right? So I'm grieving, and now I'm in, I guess you would call it's probably the depressive state, right? Or I was in the depressive state where you're realizing what you're missing, but at the same time, it's a huge lesson of what we do have and the gratitude for what those things were and are, and hopefully still will be, which I do believe that, but we're going to learn so much from this. Again, it's realizing what it means to be part of humankind and what brings beauty to that, and that's connection with others. Not living in your home alone and not being connected, right? To one degree or another. So these beautiful things in humankind right now, I am grieving in my community what we are not able to have any longer. And again, this is temporary. There's a greater purpose for this. Again, that's another conversation. But now moving from that stage of deep grief and depression, which I'm kind of still there, okay? But I've also started to move into this acceptance phase, which is like, to one degree or another, right? Which is, okay, this is the way it is right now. I pulled cards for myself yesterday, which I rarely do. I thought, I need a card. So I used the Soul Journey card from James Van Praagh. So the card I pulled said acceptance. And it said, accept the things you cannot change. You know, the wisdom to know the difference kind of thing. Did I need that card? That was last night, right? Oh my gosh. And it was so interesting because that's the mode I'm kind of in right now, is starting to accept this is where we are. And now how are you going to deal with it as an individual, right? How are you going to deal with it as an individual? There is so much learning in this for each one of us. I can't begin to tell you. So part of this video, I wanted to make sure I covered the stages of grief real briefly, because I'm going to near guarantee you will go through that in one way or another. You might skip some stages. You might move super fast through them. You might not. But just take a cross check of yourself and see where you're at. Because if we just breeze through this and don't turn around and look at ourselves and understand how we're dealing with all of this, you know, we can't become better for it. So I'm one to always try to think about what is the situation that's going on? How can I learn from it and become better at how I behave? So this has been super hard for me. And I'm just going to be so honest. And, you know, I find myself that one of the biggest things that I've noticed about myself through all these phases, okay, is, and this is, I guess for me, this is, I don't want to say embarrassing. This is hard to, I guess, admit, because I felt it's probably one of the things that I have needed to learn in my life journey this time around, in certain circumstances more than other, is how we judge others. Oh, are we judging others now? Oh my gosh. And I'm going to bet you that you're kind of feeling the same way at times, but you might not even know it. So here's what's happened to me. So I have felt that I'm pretty good at being able to be very accepting of people, very open, very really non-judgmental. Like, that's their choice. This is their journey, that whole thing, right? And you may kind of go, oh, okay, well, that's their journey, right? But now when we're in times of a lot of emotion, a lot of energy in the collective, you can snap to the other side super fast. So what I found myself doing particularly early on in all of this, which for me has just been the last mostly week, but 2 weeks, I would say, is, oh my God, I was super judging others and not even knowing I was doing it. I was like, oh my God, not necessarily out loud saying this, but I found I was doing more of this internally. Like, okay, this is so ridiculous, to panic and, oh my God, what facts are they looking at? What are they only looking at emotion? Are they blah, blah, blah? I was doing this whole thing inside myself. And I realized that in doing this, as we judge others, we create this icky feeling in ourselves, right? And then that just perpetuates. And then I found myself just like going deeper and deeper about that. And then that kind of turned into the anger mode for me. Now my anger is kind of minor. It's more internal. I don't express a lot of it out. But with a couple people, I feel I'm able to do that. But when I was doing that, oh my gosh, I could just feel myself getting pulled down deeper and deeper. And I thought, what is going on? And then I finally snapped to it and realized it's because it's judgment energy. It's me looking at someone else and going, why are you going down the rabbit hole? So I found myself going down this rabbit hole of people I would encounter. And because everybody's kind of talking about the thing, right? And there were times where what I would want to do is, I don't want to say give them platitudes, but give them a solution to their concern. That's not my role. That's not my place. My place is to hold space for them and to maybe provide a comforting word or two, but not to, try to spout my side of things, whatever that even is, statistics or anything like that. Oh, has this been a journey for me? Because, I do videos, as you know, I like to talk. And I often have opinions. So this is about Carolyn learning to be silent, just listen, hold space, kind of per my other video, and not sit there internally and smile at that person and go, I think you're panicking. What are you doing to yourself? That whole thing that we do. And don't say you haven't done it to one degree or another. And if you haven't done any of this at all, of the judging of anybody, well, then, I think light worker, you're the Lord for you. But I'm betting you that if you look at yourself, you've done it to one degree or another. And so the thing is, what happens then is when we do this judgment of others, as light workers, suddenly we're like, whoa, that wasn't very light worker-like. If we're, introspective and we're able to look at that, right? And that's what we do in the awakening, right? We would learn to look at ourselves and our emotions and become the master of our emotions and let the higher self work with the human. Oh, how beautiful it is when that happens, when we have those moments where you can tell you are allowing your higher self to lead you. You're not working out of human emotion. You have become the master of your own emotions, right? Maybe for that little blip on the screen, but when we're not, what happens then is, as we're making that judgment of others, like I said, you may have a smile on your face and be listening, but what are you doing inside when you're listening to that person, right? And I found myself doing that thing of giving my opinion internally about where I kind of thought they should be, right? And then what I did to myself, which just continues the cycle, is I would then be out of that circumstance or that conversation. And these are short conversations like the grocery store or whatever, because like I said, I'm not around that many people. But the point is I would then start taking my own self down the rabbit hole and saying, oh my God, why did you do that? And I would beat myself up. Okay, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So if any of you are perfectionists, you're going to probably beat yourself up more, which does not help our energetic state. It doesn't help the collective state. So as you start to observe that in yourself, that, wait a minute, when I'm doing the judging thing, I then turn it around and I judge myself and say, naughty you, fix it, get yourself being that light worker that you are. And then what we do is just bring heavy energy into that. So what I realized is, and I'm kind of exhausted after this week of having to look at myself so much. And, oh God, I have super chills. Okay, so that's a thing, obviously. Okay, they just said, wow, they just said, turn it around, everybody, turn it around. Okay, so what they're saying is, oh, okay, I feel like I'm out of my body now. I kind of feel like I'm going to faint a little bit. Okay, so they just said, and that means like I'm in a very high vibration. They want everybody to turn it around and to look at themselves. And they're saying this is the journey of the light worker. To recover themselves from their highest perspective. To become the higher self, walking in human form. Oh my God. Okay, I have super chills. Wow. And I'm kind of emotional. Okay, so I'm going to step out of that because I think I could keep going. And I don't want this to go too long. And I don't want to lose my place. So, okay, so anyway, as we start looking at ourselves, we have to be kind to ourselves as well. Because if we continue to beat ourselves up over how we're coming across to others, all we do is lose our light, okay? So we have, I'll just kind of, we kind of have more risk, I guess I would say. And you can always reclaim that, but when we're a light worker, we're here to share our goodness, and yet we're human too. And so we have to realize there's fallibility still in us. I don't care how high level we think we are, right? One degree or another. You're still in a learning phase. So turn it around, as they said, look at yourself. How are you treating yourself in all of this? Are you being kind to yourself? Forget the judgment to others. If you've started that down that rabbit hole and then you've turned it around to yourself, are you just beating yourself up over how you're handling this? It's okay. Learn from it though. Be introspective. Sit down, do some journaling, meditating, all those things we talk about all the time, right? Find some time alone. But do a little self-analysis, because there's great benefit in this as you move forward. It's going to help you maintain your own light. It's going to help you learn what others are going through too, because as you learn from yourself and your own fallibilities, I guess I'll say, you're going to be able to have more empathy for others. So as we learn from ourselves, we can turn this around and offer this to others and be able to step back. And again, this is intertwined with being the observer as you're with others, and the whole conversation I had with you guys in a video just a week or so ago on how we can turn this around. But judgment is a huge thing we're going through now, and it's happening all the time in the looks that people are giving, in the energy they're giving off, and I am feeling it in spades, and I'm seeing it in people's eyes, and I am not out that much. And, I could give you 10,000 examples of that, right? In the short time it seems that I have been experiencing these things. But you all know what I'm talking about. So again, how can we be out there with others, looking at them as an observer and minding, they just said minding your own P's and Q's. Okay, but they said be kind to yourself as you move through the natural progression of human emotion. Oh, they said, which includes judgment. For this is one of the biggest lessons humans will learn in their awakening journey. Okay, they just said again, master of your emotions. You're moving to a level now that it exceeds where the collective has ever been. And much of this has to do with managing the human emotional state. How will you choose to participate? Learn to become through introspection, kindness, and seeking out your own truth. Be the light for all humankind. Ooh, oh my gosh, I have super chills. Okay, so this might have been a little bit all over the place, but I just wanted to talk about this because here's the thing. I'm just going to summarize. We're going through the stages of grief now. All right, one degree or another, you're all at different stages. And if you zoomed past all of it, I would kind of say to you, take a look again, maybe. Did you really have no stages of grief? And again, this isn't over, so I'm not saying you will, but to one degree or another, I think we all will go through that. And where does judgment fall into that for you? Is that in that anger phase? Are you finding yourself doing that? It's so simple. It's so easy to get pulled into that. So I now will have a task ahead of me here in the next couple hours to be able to go out and play tennis with one of my regular partners. we are on the opposite ends of things. So I'm going to get to practice all of what I have just talked about, and I'm going to try to remain more silent. I'm going to try to hold space. I am going to try to keep the inner voice, which is my biggest learning, my inner voice that as I'm talking with someone, I'm thinking other things. Those little judgments that we do, and I don't mean it happens all the time, but they pop in, right? I'm going to make a really strong attempt to, in what is probably one of the more energetic times in humankind, to be able to bring in my full heart, be the observer, not listen to that human self that ropes us in to pulling us into this back and forth. Who's right, who's wrong, judgments. Doesn't mean you can't have a conversation, but it's what energy are you bringing to it? What thoughts and feelings are you bringing to it? Master of your own emotions and finding a way to start letting that higher self lead, intertwined with the human self, so that you can bring the light into the world when we need it the most. So I hope you have enjoyed this today and taken a nugget away. Like all they say, take a nugget away. Just something that works for you. And hopefully you have found something in this video that does. I wish you well. I thank you so much for being here. And as always, I leave you with purplerainhealing.com, where I list all of my services, channeling for your awakening and ascension journey, for your own soul journey, so you can learn more in moving forward. Additionally, spiritual awakening mentoring, which assists you one-on-one to be able to move forward in your spiritual awakening journey, dealing with things that have brought you to this point, as well as what you're moving forward with in your awakening journey, and then distance energy healing as well. So check out my services, purplerainhealing.com. I would love to work with you, as I have worked with many of you already. Thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you being part of this community. I'll see you in the next video.